advancements that Microsoft is making here. I hear it's just part of your master plan to actually move the headquarters down to Los Angeles. So we wish you the best luck here in the San Fernando Valley. But truly, we appreciate your support of this luncheon. Doug, congratulations on getting your permit. If anybody needs to say they're introducing the mayor tomorrow as a way of speeding up your permit, please use that excuse frequently. You can pretend that you're going to introduce me. But we do have a commitment to that sort of customer service where we can improve what the outcomes are when you interact with us, no matter whether it's in building and safety or rec and parks, whether it's our police department or fire department. We want you to have that sense. And I want to thank the entire VICA family for having me come here today. I just want to, it's been a big Valley week for me. Just a show of hands, how many people were at the United Chamber luncheon? All right, keep your hand up if you were at Mitch Englander's lunch yesterday. All right, so it's basically just Mitch Englander who's heard me twice this week. So if you'd like to come up and do every other paragraph, Mitch, I'd be really excited to have you do that. But thank you to Mitch and to Paul Koretz. I think Paul Corcoran was going to be stopping by too. For being here, and thank you for your friendship and leadership. It's really a joy to come to work and be around people you like and that you hang out with, even if you didn't have the titles that we do. And but most importantly, to be with this room of movers and shakers here in a place. I spent most of my afternoons just a block from here. I went to high school and junior high school down the street, and I used to take the RTD bus every single day here. So the Sportsman's Lodge is home to me. This entire area feels like coming home, and it's great to be back in the Valley. Very proud to be, I think, the first Valley boy to be elected as mayor, and I wear that proudly. I have a great speech that's been written here for me, but as I mentioned, it might have been heard once or twice this week, so I'm going to try to improv a little bit. But last week marked my 100th day in office. It's gone by incredibly swiftly, and as I mentioned earlier in the week, the Dodgers were in last place when I took office, and finished the year in first place. I'm not claiming any credit, just to be clear, but the games that I've shown up and sat in the first row, they did win. So the owners thought I was a lucky charm. They said, "Can you please fly with us to St. Louis?" I said, "Well, there's this little controversy about mayors and tickets and flights, so no." And I said, "Get us to the World Series, and I'll consider paying my fair share to actually go to Boston or Detroit." And I'm very excited. I think that our boys can pull this off tonight, and I'm excited to see that. So, you know, I want to start with a story that my rabbi shared with me this week. That is a kind of a legendary story about Abraham in the Bible. And when Abraham was chosen by God to kind of lead his people, and wasn't sure exactly why, it was a different time. Rumor has it, or legend has it, that he, with his father, looked at a whole bunch of idols that were in their home, because back then, of course, everybody had many different gods. And when his father left, knowing there to be just one true God, he destroyed all the idols except one, that of Yahweh. And his dad came back, and he saw all these smashed idols, and he was really upset with him. And he said, "Abraham, how could you do this?" And Abraham said, "I didn't do it. This idol destroyed all the rest." And his father said, "Abraham, how could that be possible? They aren't real." And Abraham said, "Well, if they aren't real, why do we worship them?" And I love that story because for me, it's a metaphor for our own lives today, where there's so many idols that are out there, so many ways of doing things. And we have lost, I think, our ability in some ways to get to some eternal truths, to find a way to make government work for people again, by simplifying, and by making sure that we do understand some core values. For too long, city government has failed in its mission. I'll be blunt with you today. We don't have a customer service ethic enough of the time. We certainly don't innovate, whether it's the use of technology or experimentation. We haven't created a culture that rewards that. In fact, the best way to get promoted in most of our city departments is to cover your behind and just keep your head down and wait until you get another step up. And for my first day in office, I talked to somebody who's the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and he said there's a great study that Harvard Business School did that said the change you can bring as a chief executive, 95% of it is in your first year. 95% of it. Not the implementation of the change, but actually the foundation of the change. The people that you hire, the systems that you put forward, the culture that you create. And so when I read the city charter after being elected as your 42nd mayor, I saw that the city charter itself describes the mayor as the CEO of the city of Los Angeles. That it was time for us to bring the idea of managing our city in the 21st century way forward. General managers, I asked them to write memos, each one of them. Chiefs, general managers, executive directors. Say, why do you still want to work in the city? To take on, as a governor or a president does, the role of building a cabinet, not just assuming that you inherit one. We talk not just about who would stay and who would go, which the press is focused on a lot. There'll be some transitions of some of our leadership. But more importantly, setting standards for all of them that I expect them to have measurable goals so that I can be a chief executive and hold them accountable. And in turn, that all of you as the people of Los Angeles can finally have a city government you can hold accountable. I wasn't sure how to judge many general managers because so many have never said what they would do. I don't know how to judge a department if they haven't established where they're going. We've had some great managers and not enough leaders, and I want to turn our general managers into leaders as well. The culture of leadership for the mayor's office has often been, or city leaders, period. Ignore a department until they do something wrong, micromanage them, and then disappear again. Put handcuffs on them in difficult times, which is understandable. Sometimes we have to save money, but long after the time it's necessary for that, they can't innovate. If they save money, they don't get to keep any of it. Where's the kind of incentive to be able to do things in a different way? And there's a fear that if they do try something too different, that they might not be there tomorrow. And so as I've gone through this in my first 100 days, I've interviewed every single one of our departmental leaders. And I've told them that I want them to soar. I expect them to lead. I won't micromanage them, but I certainly will check in with them to do yearly reviews, to see what their goals and expectations are, to measure them and to put them out there to share with the people. So on my 100th day in office, we launched a beta website of something that will continue to grow at lamayor.org/performance. And you can see for the first time, and Mitch and I looked at some of this, looking at the model in Boston and elsewhere, of a dashboard that people can see on important measures for our lives. How much water are we using on average per person? How quickly do we get a 311 call resolved? What's the response time for an ambulance or a fire truck? What's the public safety measures that we hold important to us? And in some departments, a few, they're doing a great job of measuring that. Los Angeles Police Department with CompStat. But we've now said that every single department will have to essentially CompStat themselves, which is not just about the measurement, but it's also about the culture of when you find indicators that are worrying, what do you do to hold other managers accountable to fix those problems as quickly as possible? And I'm pleased to say that Los Angeles is now on a path to being a 21st century city internally, which is important because it positions us to deliver what you expect out of government externally, putting the recession in the rearview mirror, creating the conditions, especially for economic growth, which is my #1 priority as your mayor. I'm going to need VICA's help, each and every one of you in this room. I'm going to need you to be a partner in this, because Los Angeles has the ingredients of success. If I were a mayor in a different city, struggling to get a diverse population in a global economy, that would be one thing. If I was a mayor, that only had 4 or 5 days of sunshine or good weather a year, that would be one thing. If I was landlocked, nobody came into our airport, we didn't have a port, that would be one thing. If we didn't have signature industries that export to the world, if we weren't a manufacturing capital, that would be another thing. But all of those things are here in Los Angeles. We are the manufacturing center of the world, of the country. We are the #1 airport in the world in terms of flights of origination and destination. We have the #1 port in America. We have a $500 billion economy in this region. And what we have is probably the most creative, hardworking, innovative group of human beings ever put in one geographical place in human history. So now it's up to us. What do we do with that? How do we stitch those pieces that in some ways that embarrassment of wealth, of riches, has made us lazy about doing the hard work of reforming the bureaucracy and the systems, of selling our city, of being able to market what is great about LA, and it is time for us to change that. Whether it's inside our departments, by reforming departments like the Department of Water and Power. I still see Commissioner Jill Banks-Barad here, who's from the Valley, who we appointed from Neighborhood Council, as well to lead that with Mel Levine, a former congressman. Whether it's in our port, which with the widening of the Panama Canal, we are in danger of losing much of the trade that comes here today, but I was talking to a trade expert at a conference I just came from at UCLA. She's based on the East Coast, has no dog in this hunt, but she said, you know what, it's 10 days faster to go to Los Angeles to get to the East Coast than it is to go through the Panama Canal. So I want to get a t-shirt that says, I lost 10 days on the back, ask me how, and take it to all of our business leaders around the country. We have to make sure we have an airport which is worthy of a great city again. And if you haven't seen it, just 3 weeks ago we opened up what, don't take my word for it, the head of Hudson News, who you always give your money when you buy a paper or a magazine, and who's in 80 different terminals in North America, said is indisputably the best terminal now in North America at our new international terminal. And a taste of what's to come as we renovate the other 7. And as we bring rail, finally, public transit to LAX, which is a high priority. And what can we do to make sure this is done in an even way? Whether it's students in South Los Angeles who need to be part of the benefits of a Silicon Beach by creating a Silicon South. I was with a group of students just before they're going to the White House to visit the CTO of this country. They spent from Dorsey and Crenshaw High School this summer creating 47 different smartphone apps for Microsoft phones. And to see the future of our city, to see the future of prosperity in their eyes, we have to make sure that that goes to all parts of the city. We have to make sure that San Fernando Valley is marketed. When you land at LAX, when's the last time you saw something from the San Fernando Valley? When everybody said, when are you going to get my friends were like, I haven't seen your picture up in the airport yet. I had 2 answers. I said, first of all, I want the airport to be worthy of a picture. And it's kind of a crumbling place, but all kidding aside, we started asking the people of LA, what images would you want to see? And so we started taking photographs throughout the city, and you'll have a picture of me in the San Fernando Valley at LAX, among other photographs of Watts Towers, of the Los Angeles River in a kayak, of the Hollywood Farmers Market. It is time for us to make sure that we understand economic development doesn't just happen some places, it happens every place. And it's time for us to be savvy about the industries that will fuel the economy of the future. And if I could give any encouragement to VICA today, it's to focus on those key industries of growth, to make sure that Silicon Beach isn't just something at the beach. As we know, we have tech startups here. Those industries of the past that need our support, like aerospace. I'll never forget the Aerospace Roundtable during the campaign that I convened here in North Hollywood. The CEO said it's easier to get a meeting with the governor of Texas here in the San Fernando Valley than with the city official. And yet, we gave up on aerospace after the Cold War, thinking that we had lost those jobs. Certainly there was a dramatic cut. It's still a top 3 industry. And to give you an example of how competitive we are, that very same company, after the Japan earthquake and tsunami, when Japanese factories shut down and they needed to go someplace and started ordering from the US, after those Japanese factories reopened, they thought they'd lose those clients, and those clients said, no, we're staying with American factory. It's cheaper and better, and it's coming out of North Hollywood. And yet they don't have the employees to hire because we're not training anybody for the jobs that they have that are vacant today. Which is why many of you know that I fought so hard during the campaign, just as a council member, to keep the North Valley Occupational Program, which is adult ed from LAUSD at the Van Nuys Airport, alive, because 30,000 jobs that start at $19 an hour within a year or two are over $100,000 without a college degree were being trained out of that place, and it was going to be lost because of cuts from the state budget to our education system. This is no longer a question of whether we have the ingredients, my friends. This is a question of whether we have the will and the courage to march down a pathway of success that will require us all to identify what is great about LA, where the world economy is moving, and what we can do to be at the front of the line. I am confident that this decade, that this chapter that we are about to write for this city will be one of the best ones we have ever seen. I don't come here in some sort of Pollyannish way with some abstract or academic theories about this. I've been a practitioner getting my hands dirty for the last 12 years. Now the long-serving public official at City Hall, which is a sentence that should scare you as much as it scares me. But after 12 years of seeing neighborhoods, as diverse from Atwater Village, which reminds me of the San Fernando Valley that I grew up in, to Hollywood, a signature neighborhood for all of us, to Silver Lake and Echo Park. I realized in the diversity of those neighborhood types and building sizes and transit dependent or transit benefiting neighborhoods and not, that there was something universal across each one of the neighborhoods of Los Angeles. Here in the San Fernando Valley, as I spoke to people in Canoga Park, in Granada Hills, in Pacoima, or in Studio City, sure, they had a slightly different vision each of what they wanted specifically on their streets. But the larger vision of what they wanted was no different across any of those neighborhoods. They wanted great main streets again, which is why I launched last week my Great Streets Initiative, to look at that backbone of a neighborhood that too often we drive through or drive past that can anchor the economic growth of an individual neighborhood. Just as we did with Glendale Boulevard and Atwater Village when we widened the sidewalks and planted some trees and put neighborhood art there and attracted some good businesses and used zoning tools to bring the buildings to the street front instead of parking lots. And lo and behold, Atwater Village went from a place that people commuted through to the neighborhood that last year on Curbed LA, which is a popular blog, was named the best neighborhood in all of Los Angeles. A Great Streets Initiative focuses on safe streets and clean streets and brings together the dollars that we already spend in so many places and puts them in one place, so that together we can look at the rebirth of Los Angeles, one neighborhood at a time. And people who leave the neighborhood and are stuck in traffic can stay in the neighborhood and get a bite to eat, or meet friends, or do their local shopping. See Bob Bloomfield out there too, and I want to thank Bob for being here. We have great neighborhoods throughout the city. I talked a lot about his district when I was campaigning. If I had one more person come up to me and say, I went to Carvel's too. It was the radio ad that I did, which was taken out of a speech. I didn't even know my campaign consultant was going to use it, and I talked about what it felt like growing up here in the San Fernando Valley. That sense of limitlessness, that you were kind of in nowhere and at the center of the universe simultaneously. A place where you weren't defined by where you came from, but where you wanted to go to. Those lazy days playing baseball at Encino Little League, which, by the way, are the state champions this year. Congratulations to Encino Little League. Or going with the family, you know, to have a burger at on Roscoe at Tommy's. You kind of felt like the world knew and cared about this place. And more importantly, that we knew and cared about this place. This will not be an easy path. We'll all have to sacrifice something. I may come to you and try to convince you to turn a street into a one-way street, or to put a rapid bus lane down there. I may come to you and say it's time for us to finally drill a hole through the Sepulveda Pass and get a rail line, and it's not going to be cheap. Mitch Englander and I may come to you and say, isn't it better to pave our streets than to spend another $3,000 fixing your axle and your blown tires? It's only $150 a year to tax ourselves versus $700 a year to pay at the, I don't want to put all the auto shops out of business, but we do kind of want to put them out of business for that. These things, though, will be greater than what we've done, which is to sit around and to complain, to sit on our hands, afraid of action. And we've seen the greatness of this city slowly decline. Well, not on my watch, not on our watch. We can recapture that feeling that I had when I was 13 years old and the Olympics came here and the world watched Los Angeles and said, that is a truly great city. When people would watch on television and see the Brady Bunch and know that that was the San Fernando Valley, a place where good schools and good streets and great weather came together to mix and to make prosperity. And so I thank the business community for believing in Los Angeles. There's an elite I won't chase. I just got an analysis of my own calendar from the director of my scheduling. We broke it down by how much time I'm spending on each topic. And by far, as I planned, it was nice to see, the #1 area I'm spending my time on is on economic development. 43% of my week last week was on that. And nothing else was above about 12%. If you know a company that wants to come here, send them our way. I want to talk to their CEO. If you know a company that wants to grow, send them our way. We're going to figure out a way to make that happen. If you have somebody who you think wants to film in Los Angeles or is considering not filming in Los Angeles, let us know and I'll get Tom Sherrick, our great new film czar, to beat down the door, and through a combination of hopefully expanding tax credits in Sacramento and good old-fashioned Jewish guilt, we'll try to bring them back. And as I mentioned the United Chambers, we are going to, once again in this city, convene people across the region. And I did that in my first few weeks. I convened all the mayors in the LA region. 65 of them showed up. There were 66 of us in one place out of the 88 mayors to talk about traffic and transportation and economic development as one city, as we should. So we're going to convene people, whether it's university presidents, as I did with the presidents and chancellors of Cal State Northridge and Cal State LA and UCLA and USC and Caltech and Loyola and Occidental and other community college districts recently. We're going to build this city, whether it's our streets, whether it's our dependence on foreign water right now, which we're going to reduce by 30% by 2020, recharge the aquifers that's here and polluted underneath the San Fernando Valley by unpaving the street and bringing back the LA River. We're going to build this city again. And we're going to train this city. We're going to make sure that we finally have skills training from the moment that a child goes to school and gets a great science and technology and engineering and arts and math education, to learning entrepreneurialism in schools, preparing kids to be able to go into great training programs like the North Valley program that I mentioned. We're going to align what is not a jobs gap, but a skills gap here with the prosperity of the future. And finally, we will market this town. My pledge to you is I will market this San Fernando Valley that was the cradle of my family, that brought me and defined who I am here today, that gave me the opportunity to be your mayor, that this valley will be the heart of the rebound of Los Angeles, one main street, one neighborhood, one region at a time. And if we get that done, I look forward to coming back here 7 years from now and saying that LA is back on track. We're not just a big city, but we're a great city once again. Thank you so much.